In this presentation, we'll discuss the writing process and how it can be used to develop a great piece of writing. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to define the writing process, develop a writing ritual, get started on a writing project, and apply the 5 steps of the writing process to your writing. First, we'll talk a little bit about what the writing process is and why you should aim to apply it to your writing projects. The writing process is a list of steps that should be taken in order to develop a quality piece of writing. In order, the steps are invention, structuring, drafting, revising, and editing. So, why should we use the writing process? Well, because writing in and of itself is a process. Most people can't just sit down and type up an essay in one sitting. Those who think they can write an essay in one night tend to end up regretting their choice pretty quickly. Instead, writing often involves quite a bit of planning and thinking, researching and organizing, and the process might look a little different for everybody. Breaking the writing process into manageable steps that writers can follow can make the process much easier and help ensure that the writing is clear and accomplishes its purpose. Before you get started on the writing process, you should consider establishing a writing ritual. All writers have their own unique writing rituals, which are habits or conditions that help produce an environment that is conducive to focusing the mind and encouraging creativity. Writing rituals are important to establish early in your writing career. Once you decide which habits you like best, try to set up your environment to reflect these preferences each time you sit down to write. Consider the following. Do you prefer working at a particular time of day? Do you find that you're more alert first thing in the morning or when the sun sets? Do you concentrate better with peace and quiet or with background noise? If you prefer background noise, what kind? Television noise, the soft chatter of a coffee shop, music that you can sing along to, or music that's purely instrumental? Do you prefer writing by hand or using a word processor? Do you have a favorite pen or notebook that you like to use? Would you rather work in a comfy nook with pillows and fluffy blankets or use a desk and chair? Or do you prefer writing outside? Think about what environment works best for you and set yourself up for success. Part of your writing ritual should also include preparing for distractions. Think about your past writing experiences. What things tend to be the most distracting for you? Do you get hungry? Have a healthy snack nearby, like a sliced avocado, which also provides nutrients that helps your brain to function better and prevents you from having to leave your writing to get something. Do you have pets, roommates, or family members that disturb you when you're trying to focus? Consider kicking your pets out and shutting the door, or letting your roommates and family members know ahead of time that you plan to do some writing and need to focus. Most of the time, people will respect your request. Do you get a lot of texts, notifications, or phone calls? Consider turning your phone on silent or shutting it off. Be careful about setting your phone to vibrate, as this can sometimes be equally distracting. Once you've developed your writing ritual, it's time to get started on your writing project. Before you move on to the first step of the writing process, though, you'll need to consider a few things. First, read the instructions for your writing assignment carefully. This will get you thinking about what you'll be writing about and ensure that you don't miss any important details. If you have questions about the assignment, be sure to ask them as soon as possible. Then, make a schedule for writing that works for you. Write down the due date of the assignment in your calendar and then schedule writing sessions to work on your project. The number of sessions that you schedule will depend on your specific project, but it's always best to give yourself more time than you think you'll need to be on the safe side. If you get to choose your own topic, be sure to choose one that interests you. If you're provided with the topic, try to focus on something about that topic that you can relate to in some way. Next, consider your audience, purpose, and tone. Doing so will help you focus on developing rhetorical strategies as you prepare to write. Finally, do some preliminary research on your topic. Though Wikipedia should not be used as a source in your writing project, it can be very useful when you need an overview of the current academic conversation on your topic. And Wikipedia articles often cite reliable sources that you can potentially use as support. The databases Issues and Controversies and Galen Context Opposing Viewpoints are fantastic resources if you have access to them. They let you search for arguments that are commonly debated and give you an overview of the pros and cons of each viewpoint. Once you feel like you have a good understanding of the current critical conversation on your topic, it's time to move on to step 1 of the writing process. Invention, sometimes called pre-writing or brainstorming, is a great way to get your initial ideas on your topic out of your head and onto the paper. There's no need to worry about using correct spelling, grammar, or mechanics when working on this step. This is your chance to develop ideas in a free-flowing manner without having to worry about being judged by your reader. When it comes to invention techniques, you have lots to choose from. Mind mapping, as its name suggests, is a way to map out the ideas in your mind. Also known as clustering, mind mapping may use a variety of formats, but typically uses lines and bubbles to diagram your thinking, connecting your main topic to your subtopics and other supporting details. The idea with any invention technique is to let the content spill onto the page without thinking too hard about what ideas you'll end up focusing on in your final writing project. While working on your mind map, you should feel free to jot questions near corresponding ideas so that you can go back and answer them later. After creating your mind map, you can go back and cross out sections that seem less relevant on review. Here's one example of a mind map that is accompanied by small pictures. Writers who enjoy drawing might find visuals like these helpful for organizing their points. Note how the subtopics are connected to the main topic in the center of the page. Some mind maps resemble tree branches. Here, large branches are used for the subtopics, while smaller branches are filled out with details related to the topics they're connected to. You can also use a series of bubbles, squares, or other shapes to organize your ideas. Listing is another method that can be used as an invention technique, and it's especially helpful for narrowing down topics that may be too broad, as demonstrated in the following series of lists. Here, the topic is gardening, and the writer has created subtopics for the benefits of gardening, planning a garden, tools, and veggies and fruits to grow. Similarly, you can make a list of questions about your topic, giving you a good idea as to what areas you need to research more. Another invention technique is free writing, or simply writing whatever comes to mind on your topic without worrying about formatting or grammar of any kind. Using either pen or paper or a word processor, set a timer for 15 minutes and write any ideas relevant to your topic as fast as you can without pausing. These ideas can be organized later. This kind of writing is also known as stream of consciousness writing, intended to mimic the chaotic pattern of thinking. The second step of the writing process is structuring and is sometimes referred to as organizing or outlining. As its name suggests, the structuring step focuses on organizing the ideas developed in the invention step into an outline. The finished outline will serve as a guide for drafting your written work. This step helps you stay on track. Neglecting this step often leads to writing that digresses from its main purpose. First, you'll need to come up with a working thesis. In academic writing, a thesis statement is a single sentence that states your essay's main point and is typically the last sentence of your introduction. Every word, every sentence, and every paragraph of an essay should work to support your thesis in some way. A working thesis is a thesis that is used to get you started on developing your argument. As you continue to research your topic, you may decide that your thesis needs tweaking, and that's okay. Then, you'll need to use your work from the invention step to settle on your main supporting points for your thesis. On average, a college-level essay will use 3 main supporting points. Once you've developed your thesis and supporting points, you can start to fill out your outline. Be sure to use a formal outline structure, using Roman numerals for each paragraph, capital letters for supporting points, and numbers for supporting details. You can choose to make a topic outline, an outline that uses words or short phrases for each bullet point, or a sentence outline, which uses complete sentences for each bullet point. Keep in mind that the harder you work on your outline, the easier it will be to write your draft. Check out this example. Your first paragraph will be your introduction. Your introduction should introduce your topic, working from general ideas to more specific ideas. End your introduction with your thesis statement. Next, you'll list your body paragraphs. Each body paragraph should focus on one main supporting point. Each body paragraph should start with a topic sentence that states what that paragraph will be about and should include a variety of claims and evidence that supports your thesis. You should also use transition words or phrases to move from one point to the next. End your outline with a clear conclusion that restates your thesis and main points. The third step of the writing process is drafting. In this step, you'll work to convert your outline into a fully written essay. Drafting tends to be the step that is most dreaded by students, but it doesn't have to be. Let's go over a few tips to help you get through this step. Avoid procrastination. With so many strict rules hammered into them by teachers in the past, students are more apt to making mistakes, which means lower grades and ugly red marks on their papers. Because of this, they despise writing and take very few risks to make improvements, procrastinate the writing process, and then become more anxious about it as the assignment's due date approaches. This cycle of procrastination has a snowball effect, making students loathe writing even more each time they attempt it. If you dread writing, consider writing in chunks. Set a timer for 1 or 2 hours and commit to writing until the timer goes off. By then, you may decide that you've got a good flow going and prefer to keep writing. If not, then you can take a break and pat yourself on the back for following through with your commitment. Better yet, offer yourself a reward when you complete a writing session. Watch some TV, play games, or take a nap. Another benefit to writing in chunks is that by taking breaks between writing, you're giving your brain time to process the material on a subconscious level. You're likely to return to your next writing session with fresh ideas and more enthusiasm. Here are a few other tips for writing your draft. If you struggle the most with writing your introduction, start with your first body paragraph instead. There's no rule that says you have to begin your writing at the beginning of your essay. If you can't seem to get started on your writing, consider rereading some of your sources or finding new sources. Sometimes this will inspire new ideas and motivate you to write a paragraph or two. Ask for help if you need it. Your professor may be able to help you narrow down your topic, or you can schedule a tutoring session to help you organize your thoughts. Keep in mind that your first draft doesn't have to be your final draft. If you follow the writing process, you will also dedicate some time to revising and editing your work. Sometimes it can be satisfying just to get something down on the paper. You can always go back and reshape your ideas later on in the process. After you've drafted your essay, the next step is revising. When I ask students what they think about revising essays, I often get answers like, "I already did the best I could with my first draft." Even worse, some students see revision as a punishment for not doing well on their first drafts. Let me dispel this myth for you. Ernest Hemingway revised the last page of A Farewell to Arms 39 times. That's because most experienced writers use revision to make improvements and spend significantly more time revising than drafting. What you see in published writing is not a result of writers' first drafts, but of careful revision through the adding, deleting, substituting, and rearranging of material until it suits the writer's purpose and audience as close to perfectly as possible. This should show you two things. One, even great writers are capable of bad writing, and two, great writers keep at it until they get it right. So keep this in mind when revising your own essays. Try not to see revising as an annoying yet mandatory task required by your professor. Instead, look at it as a chance to polish and perfect your essays like the pros do. One way to revise your essay is to redefine your purpose for writing. One way to do this is to ask a friend or family member to look over your writing and check to see if the message they receive is the same as the message that you intended to get across. If not, ask what parts were confusing to them. A point that you tried to make that you might have thought was obvious may have been missed completely by your reader. Another way to revise your essay is to redefine your audience. Think about who you are writing your essay for. Then, look over your essay to get a feel for the tone that you use. Is your tone appropriate for your audience? Think about what your reader might want to know about your topic and what your reader may already know about your topic. Do you give too little or too much information in some places? Will your reader think that your topic is interesting and worth reading? If not, make some changes. Next, reshape your essay if necessary. If you followed an outline, does the structure still make sense? Check to see if any of your supporting points overlapped or were repeated in places. Make sure that you didn't leave out any points or accidentally include points that weren't relevant to the thesis. Review the order of your points. Would your essay be better if your points were discussed in a different order? Did you use transitions to move from one point to the next? If not, be sure to add them. Finally, restructure your paragraphs and sentences if necessary. Do you include clear topic sentences in each paragraph? Check to see that your paragraphs are cohesive and coherent. Each sentence should move smoothly to the next. Try reading your essay out loud to see if it flows naturally. Check for sentence variety. If every sentence is written in the same way, your reader might lose interest. Check for word repetition. Using the same words over and over again will make your reader think that you didn't put much effort into its development. Finally, make sure your wording is concise and cut out any extra words and phrases that aren't necessary. Editing is the final step of the writing process. Sometimes editing is confused with revising. Here are a few of the key differences between the two steps. Revising consists of adding, deleting, substituting, and rearranging material to better suit the writer's purpose and audience. It tends to be more time-consuming than editing, and it may require several different cycles to complete. Editing, on the other hand, focuses on reviewing and fixing grammatical, mechanical, and stylistic errors, and is generally not as time-consuming as revising. These steps don't necessarily need to come at the end of the writing process either. Many writers prefer to revise and edit as they go. However, all good writers return to these steps again and again until they are satisfied with the end result. Be sure to reserve some time in your schedule to edit your essay for errors. Excessive errors can be distracting and make your essay difficult to read and understand. Schedule a tutoring session if necessary. In conclusion, following the writing process should help you to learn to write effectively and efficiently. Over time, you'll learn what methods work best for you, and with luck, you might learn to enjoy the writing process. Let's review. In this presentation, we discussed how to define the writing process, develop a writing ritual, get started on a writing project, and apply the 5 steps of the writing process to your writing. Thanks for watching.